The 1965 United States quarter dollar is one of the most talked about coins in American numismatic history. At first glance, it looks like any other quarter in circulation, but once you understand its background, production details, composition, and the variations known to exist, you realize this coin represents a major shift in US coinage history. Let's start from the beginning. In 1965, the United States Mint faced a serious silver shortage. For decades, quarters, dimes, and half dollars had been made primarily of 90% silver and 10% copper. However, by the early 1960s, rising silver prices made it impossible to continue producing silver coins for general circulation. People began hoarding silver coins, melting them down for their metal value, and that caused a nationwide shortage of circulating coins. To solve this crisis, Congress passed the Coinage Act of 1965, which removed silver from the quarter and the dime, replacing it with a new clad composition, 75% copper and 25% nickel layered over a pure copper core. The half dollar was reduced to 40% silver until 1970, and later even that was eliminated. So, the 1965 quarter became the first US quarter of the modern clad era, a copper-nickel sandwich coin that changed American coinage forever. This was the start of what collectors now call the post-silver age. An interesting fact is that the 1965 quarter has no mint mark at all. This wasn't an accident. The mint deliberately removed mint marks from all coins between 1965 and 1967 to discourage collectors from saving coins by mint location, hoping that would ease the shortage. As a result, whether your 1965 quarter was made in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, it carries no mint mark. Now, let's discuss mintage. The 1965 quarter had one of the largest mintages in US history, over 1.8 billion coins. Because of this huge number, most examples you find today are worth only face value, 25 cents, if they're in circulated condition. But the real interest comes in when we talk about rare errors, transitional strikes, and high-grade uncirculated specimens. Let's break that down. During 1965, the mint was still using some leftover 1964 silver planchets, while switching to the new clad composition. This caused a small number of 1965 dated quarters to be accidentally struck on 90% silver planchets. These are known as transitional error coins, and they are extremely valuable. If you happen to have one of these, the value could be several $1,000s depending on condition. A certified 1965 silver quarter can sell for anywhere from $3,500 to $10,000 or more, depending on its weight and verification by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC. Now, how do you know if your 1965 quarter is silver? The easiest way is to weigh it. A normal clad 1965 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, while a silver one weighs 6.25 grams. You can also look at the edge. Clad quarters have a visible copper stripe on the edge, while silver ones do not. If you find one that lacks the copper color and feels slightly heavier, it's worth having it tested. Next, we'll talk about condition and grading. Collectors use a grading scale from poor, P1, all the way to mint state 70, MS 70. Fine condition, F, 12 to F15, means the coin has moderate wear but all major details are visible. A 1965 quarter in fine condition generally holds a collector value of around 25 cents to 50 cents. In extremely fine, XF condition, it may go for $1 to $3, while in about uncirculated, AU condition, you might see prices of $3 to $5. When you reach mint state, MS, levels, the values climb higher. An MS 60 example can be worth $8 to $10, while an MS 65, a gem uncirculated coin, could be worth $15 to $25. At the top end, in superb gem grades, MS 67 or higher, prices can reach $500 to $1,500, especially if the coin has strong luster and no contact marks. Coins graded MS 68 and above are extremely rare, and auction results have shown prices as high as $2,000 or more for top examples. Another special variety of the 1965 quarter includes struck on wrong planchet errors. For example, quarters struck on dime planchets, or even on foreign planchets. These can range in value from $400 to $3,000 depending on type and condition. Collectors also pay attention to die varieties, such as doubled dies or off-center strikes. While the 1965 quarter does not have major doubled die varieties, known like some Lincoln cents, there are minor die errors that can attract modest premiums. In terms of today's international collector market, the 1965 quarter has found interest not just in the United States, but also among collectors in Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, who often seek transitional year coins that mark turning points in history. The fact that 1965 represents the end of silver coinage gives it historical importance far beyond its face value. Now, let's discuss the investment angle. While the clad 1965 quarters are not rare, high-grade certified examples continue to appreciate slowly because most of the mintage was heavily circulated. So, if you find one in an old roll or mint set with brilliant surfaces and no wear, it's worth preserving. Coins with strong eye appeal, clean surfaces, and bright luster are always in demand by registry collectors who build top-graded sets. Let's also touch on proof coins. Official proof sets were not produced in 1965, but the mint did issue special mint sets, often abbreviated as SMS. These coins have a satin-like finish, not quite proof but sharper than regular strikes. A 1965 SMS quarter in high grade can be worth $5 to $50, and if it's a rare cameo or deep cameo example, values can exceed $100 to $500. In fine condition, like the one in our topic today, your 1965 quarter, without a mint mark typically holds a collector value of around 25 cents to 50 cents, though its historical significance gives it much more story value than face value. In conclusion, the 1965 United States quarter dollar, without a mint mark, is not just a coin. It's a symbol of America's transformation from silver money to modern coinage. It reminds us of a time when metal scarcity changed history, when technology reshaped minting, and when an ordinary coin carried extraordinary meaning. Whether you collect for passion, investment, or pure love of history, this coin deserves a place in your collection. So check your change, weigh your coins, and remember, even the most common-looking quarter could hold a hidden treasure from America's numismatic revolution. Today, we are diving deep into the story of the 1966 United States quarter dollar without a mint mark, a coin that many collectors around the world consider both mysterious and iconic. Now, while to an average person it might just look like any other 25-cent coin, those who truly understand coins know that its history, its production, and its market value tell a story worth millions. Back in 1966, the United States Mint was going through a transitional period. After the coin shortage crisis of 1964 and the removal of silver from circulating coins, America's coinage system entered a new era. The 1966 quarter was part of that new beginning. It was made not of silver, but of a copper-nickel-clad composition, a sandwich of copper core and nickel surface. That was the US Mint's response to rising silver prices and public hoarding. And to simplify production, the Mint decided to remove all mint marks between 1965 and 1967. That's why your 1966 quarter has no mint mark at all, whether it was struck in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. Now, let's talk about how to identify this coin. On the obverse side, you'll see the bust of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, with the word Liberty above his head. In God We Trust, on the left, and the date, 1966, at the bottom. On the reverse, the bold American eagle stands proudly with wings spread, arrows in its talons, and the words, United States of America, and quarter dollar, encircling the design. The coin weighs around 5.67 grams, and measures 24.3 millimeters in diameter. In fine condition, this coin might not seem too special at first glance. The majority of 1966 quarters in circulated condition are worth their face value, about 25 cents. However, when we start talking about coins in extremely fine, uncirculated, or proof-like condition, the numbers change dramatically. In the current 2025 international coin market, a 1966 quarter, in fine condition, usually trades between 30 cents to $1 USD. But in uncirculated mint state, such as MS, 65 or higher, values can jump up to $25 to $100, depending on luster, strike, and surface preservation. The rarest examples, those graded by PCGS or NGC as superb gems, have sold for over $700 to $1,000 in top-tier auctions. But the true magic begins when we talk about errors and varieties. Some 1966 quarters were struck on silver planchets left over from 1964, making them extremely rare and valuable. If you have a 1966 quarter that looks slightly lighter in color, has a distinct ring sound, or weighs around 6.25 grams instead of 5.67 grams, you might be holding one of those rare transitional errors. These silver planchet errors can sell for $4,000 to $10,000, or even more, depending on condition and certification. Another variety to watch for is the double die obverse, where you can see doubling in the word liberty, or in God we trust. Some collectors have reported these rare variations, fetching hundreds of dollars, even in average grades. Now, let's talk about where to find these coins today. The 1966 quarter is still commonly found in circulation, coin rolls, old jars, or inherited coin collections. However, the trick is to check for quality and details. Use a magnifying glass or microscope to inspect the letters, the edge, and the date. A sharp strike and clean fields often mean higher grading potential. For serious collectors, submitting your coin to PCGS or NGC for grading and encapsulation can multiply its value instantly. Authentication is key. The difference between a $1 coin and a $1,000 coin is often just certification and condition. When we talk about long-term investment potential, 1966 quarters are fascinating. As one of the earliest non-silver quarters, they represent the shift in American monetary history. Collectors around the world value them not only for rarity, but also for the story they carry. A story about a nation adapting to change, innovation in coinage, and the enduring legacy of George Washington's portrait. As years go by, high-grade 1966 quarters are becoming harder to find, because most were heavily circulated during the late 60s and 70s. This scarcity in top condition is what makes collectors willing to pay a premium today. There's also a global interest in this coin. International collectors from Europe, Asia, and the Middle East actively trade US quarters, especially transitional years like 1965, 1966, and 1967. These coins often appear in world auctions, sometimes paired with other US denominations like the $50 and the $1 from the same era. The combination of nostalgia, history, and metallic change makes them a key piece of mid-20th century American coinage. Now, if you're someone just getting into coin collecting, here's some advice. Don't just look at the date. Pay attention to detail. Learn to spot clean strikes, error varieties, and luster. Keep your coins safe in acid-free holders, and avoid touching them with bare hands to prevent fingerprint oils. If you're lucky enough to find a proof-like or error piece, get it graded immediately. Remember, the coin market changes every few months, and with the rise of online auction platforms like eBay, heritage auctions, and great collections, even a small find can turn into a big payday. Speaking of today's market trends, coin collectors in 2025 are increasingly valuing coins from the 1960s. The nostalgia of post-war America, combined with the end of the silver era, has driven demand for these coins upward. As more collectors from around the world enter the US coin market, coins like the 1966 quarter are seeing renewed interest. Some dealers report that uncirculated rolls of 1966 quarters are being snapped up by investors looking for long-term appreciation. Now let's talk about the reality check. Not every 1966 quarter is worth a fortune. If your coin is heavily worn, has scratches, or shows environmental damage, it's likely to remain worth around 25 cents. But that doesn't make it worthless. It's still a part of history. Every coin tells a story, and the 1966 quarter tells the story of change, adaptation, and modern American identity. For those of you who truly want to go deep into collecting, you can compare your coin's details to professional grading references online or in the PCGS CoinFacts database. You'll find detailed images of mint-state coins, known varieties, and auction records that show just how much top-tier examples can fetch. Before we end, here's something to remember. Every great coin collection starts with a single coin, and who knows, your 1966 quarter might be that hidden gem. So next time you open your wallet or go through your coin jar, take a closer look. History could literally be in your hands. And that, my friends, is the legacy of the 1966 US quarter dollar. A coin that represents not just 25 cents of American currency, but a bridge between the silver past and the modern era of numismatics. A small piece of metal that continues to inspire, fascinate, and surprise collectors around the world.